Hello YouTube, stuck case. Got a new toy, picked it up on eBay, pretty reasonable price. It's a Dillon Square Deal B. I had one about 20 years ago. Like an idiot, I let it go. Now we got one back. I've got it set up, drilled into the bench. Took about 20 minutes to set everything up, check everything. I checked the powder. It's putting out about 4.9 grains of tight group. So check the brass, put it in, put a bullet on. I bought this brass online. Some of it has some markings I'm not real familiar with. I've run a couple through. This CBC, not sure where that come from. Got a couple of these mixed in here. They don't like to allow the primer to come through on the primer feed. As you can see, when you pull down, it does every operation at one time. So when you pull down, it resizes over here and deprimes. Puts the powder in and flares the case here. This is the bullet seating step. And the last step over here on the right is the crimp, the taper crimp. Then you go past when you come back up, and that's what seats the primer. So those operations are being done right now. Deprime, powder's going in, bullet is seating, and on the back side of number 4 station, the bullet is being crimped. When you come back up, it rotates, and you go past right there that little bit, and that seats the primer. The primer is being fed through the tube right here. You have primer pickup tubes where you can put 100 in at a time. This sure beats the single stage setup. At one point in time, I'd have sat here and I'd have had to go through every single process, one at a time, do 100 or so casings, come back through, do the next stage 100 casing, next stage 100 casing, till you finally get your product. The Dillon Square Deal B, very good press. The reason why I chose this press, I could have chose a couple different ones. I was in the hunt, had the money. I've had this one before. I'm used to it. I understand how it works. It's a dedicated straight-walled pistol kind of cartridge. So the 45 ACP 9 millimeters, your 40 Smith & Wessons 10 millimeters, 357s, all the good stuff. In fact, this one here came with an extra tool head for the 44 Magnum. This is just about as good as you need to have to make quality ammunition progressively. You can get more expensive presses. You can get the RL 650, the 1050s, 750s, with all these different options where it puts the bullet in for you and it puts the case in. It does everything. But for my needs, I'm shooting a couple hundred rounds a weekend. I'm not shooting, 5,000 rounds a weekend or 5,000 rounds a week. This is the kind of press I need. This is exactly. Now here's a particular brass. I'm not sure if you can see that. That head stamp, I'm not real familiar with it, so let's see what it does. Let's see if it goes through. Let's see if it seats the bullet. The primer right there did fine. Some brass goes through, some brass doesn't. But a couple that I've had some issues with. Cellular and bellet's been hit and miss. Just with the primers. Everything else does okay. It just doesn't like the primer. The primer pockets are pretty tight. It's not a small pistol primer, but it's surely not a large pistol primer either, because it goes in very hard. But this CBC, I'm not sure where that's from. And here's another one, GFL. Get freaking lost or something. I'm not sure where that one's from. We'll give it a try right here and see what it does. That did okay. Never heard of that one, GFL. There's cellular and bellet. Or is that SIG? That's SIG. We'll give it a try right here. SIG works good. I shoot a lot of SIG brass in my 10 millimeter. We'll give it a run. Here's another SIG. If you wanted to, you could pick your pace up a little bit. I could go a lot faster than what I am, but sometimes with these progressive presses, what I found is the old magic arm, the repetitive speed the mechanism working it the same every single time, you get a really consistent powder dispensing out of that kind of setup, which the Square Deal B in my past has been was a very good press for me. Again, I should have never let it go, but you know, that was 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. That was a long time ago, but got my opportunity to get my hands on one. So being a guy on eBay, he's probably not too happy. I waited to the last absolute second, put my high bid in. It was $460. New, you know, they're running, depending on if you can get your hands on one, they're well over 500 bucks now. And this one came with a spare tool head, 44 Magnum tool head. Not sure if I'll ever have another 44 Magnum, but that's not the point. The point is I got one if I ever decided to where I needed it. But for right now, it'll do good with the 45 ACP. One thing I also want to show you is there's the new bullet. It's a 210 grain HG68 type bullet, flat base, coated with Eastwoods. That came out of the Arsenal mold that came the other day. Right here. There's the Arsenal mold. That's a 5-cavity mold. Very good mold with Lee handles. You get it hot. You have to get it hot. It's a very hot mold. When you get the mold warmed up good, it gives me 5 identical looking bullets. If I don't get it real hot, you know, I have to throw several away a couple times. What I do is I work 2 cavities, get it hot, go to the 3rd cavity, go to the 4th cavity, go to the 5th cavity. When I get to the 5th cavity like that, it is usually after, you know, 4 or 5 casts, it's pitching a good 5 good bullets. Of course, I let it set on top of the mold, on top of the pot when it's heating up, when it's melting the lead, and I use the PID. I set it at 715 degrees is what I cast that mold at. And when I set it there, usually, like I said, you know, couple casts in, and I'm getting good bullets. I cast up, there's that CBC one. I cast up some, yeah, that's a large primer. I cast up some wheel weight bullets, loaded up 200 of them, and now I've cast up some 20-to-1 where I mixed in 10, and there's that GFL to get freaking lost. I cast up some 20-to-1, and I'm going to shoot these. I'm going to load up, you know, a couple hundred each, and then we'll take it to the range over the weekend here. We'll take it out to the farm. We'll set some steel up. We'll shoot at 25, 50, 75, 100, and 150, just see if I can hit anything that far with it. I always like to poke it out there just to brag a little bit, you know, that I can hit a piece of steel at 150 yards. I might only hit it 1 out of 10, but the point is I can tell everybody I hit it. But so we'll give it a try this weekend. I'll shoot some groups on paper, and then I'll shoot at the steel, like I said, at 100, 150 yards, just see if we can hit it. What I found is that the my favorite bullet is this one right here, the 215 grain Seiko. If you can see, that is a big Meplat. That is such a good bullet for the 45 ACP. But what I found is, past 50 yards, I might as well be throwing a baseball at them. That bullet just, it goes everywhere. I don't know whether it loses its gyroscopic stability, whether it's the twist in the barrels. I shot it in all 3 of my 1911s. I cannot get that bullet to shoot past 50 yards. Very inconsistent at 100, very inconsistent, you know, at 75. In fact, there are times that it will be 3 feet off at 100. So I know that bullet definitely has a flaw coming out of that gun, out of those guns. Up close, it shoots pretty good, but the point is that it isn't doing me any good if I can't extend it out there a little bit. But anyway, so I wanted you guys to see that this was my Dillon Square Deal B, and just talking you through right here. I've loaded up probably 50 or so, I don't know. You could probably count, go back through and count it, but pretty simple, really. You just keep cranking till the buzzer goes off, lets me know I'm out of primers. And that's the Square Deal B.